the silent intersection. If you are hearing these words right now, something rather strange might be happening. It is not because you believe what is about to be said, nor because you are actively seeking new knowledge. You are here because a part of you, a part you likely keep hidden beneath layers of logic and skepticism, has just been touched. For many years, throughout the history of human evolution, there has been a mechanism at work that lies precisely at the intersection of quantum physics and human consciousness. It is not a new hypothesis born of the New Age movement, nor is it something waiting to be proven by future generations. It has been noted, measured, and observed by our most advanced sciences, yet in a very quiet, almost systematic way, it has been excluded from mainstream understanding. Why would such profound knowledge be hidden in plain sight? Because if we acknowledge the existence of this mechanism, we would have to abandon a very fundamental belief that society has taught us since childhood. We would have to dismantle the very architecture of how we view our internal world. We are taught that emotions are simply psychological states, fleeting feelings that happen to us. We are taught that they need to be controlled, regulated, treated with medication, or repaired through years of therapy. But what is about to be discussed here takes a completely different direction. This is not about psychology. This is about physics. Emotions are not something that happens to you. They are not feelings that can be categorized as good or bad, right or wrong, healthy or harmful. Those are labels invented by a society obsessed with conformity. In the language of the universe, emotions are frequencies. Specific, measurable electromagnetic oscillations are continuously emitted by your nervous system as a wave signal. And that signal is doing something terrifyingly powerful. It is adjusting the quantum probability field around you. It selects the version of reality you will experience. Each emotional frequency you emit corresponds to a different channel of reality, and the channel you are broadcasting on determines which life is gradually crystallizing into your lived experience. When you view emotions solely as subjective feelings to judge, categorize, try to dismiss, or retain, you are operating an incredibly sophisticated regulator without even knowing how it works. You are like a pilot flying a 747 who thinks the controls are just toys to be played with. What were the results of this ignorance? Look around you. Look at your own life. Life began to turn upside down. The events repeat themselves in a perplexing way. These events, seemingly random, come and go, yet they all carry the same familiar scent of energy. It is not because you are unlucky. It is not because the economy is bad. It is not because you have not worked hard enough. It is because you are broadcasting without knowing what you are broadcasting. The moment you realize that emotions are not meant to be controlled, but rather signals being sent out, something very big happens. Reality is no longer something that hits you from the outside. It begins to adjust itself to match the signal you are playing. From that moment, life ceased to be a reaction, it became a process of resonance. To understand this, not through blind belief but through practical mechanisms, we need to proceed very slowly. We need to deconstruct the modern human condition. Chapter 1: The Portrait of a Broadcaster. Let us look at a specific example to ground this theory in reality. Let us talk about a man named James. James lives in New York City, the beating heart of the modern world. He works in high finance. To the outside observer, James is the pinnacle of the American dream. He is 34 years old, wears tailored suits, and manages a portfolio worth millions. He wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every single day. He is disciplined. He is driven. He is successful. But if we could peel back the layers of his external success and look at the energetic reality of his existence, we would see a tragedy unfolding in real time. James wakes up every morning with a sensation he cannot name. It sits right at the base of his sternum, a tight, vibrating knot. He calls it stress. He calls it the price of doing business. He treats it with caffeine in the morning and expensive scotch in the evening. James believes that he is fighting a war against the market. He believes that if he is smart enough, fast enough, and ruthless enough, he can bend reality to his will. He spends his days analyzing data, reading charts, and predicting trends. He is obsessed with input, information coming in from the world. But James is completely blind to his output. He does not realize that while his conscious mind is analyzing stock prices, his nervous system is screaming. He does not realize that he is a biological broadcast tower, and the signal he is blasting into the streets of Manhattan is one of chaotic interference. James is the archetype of the high-functioning anxiety sufferer. He is functional, yes. He gets the job done. But his internal engine is redlining. And because he ignores the physics of his own biology, his reality has become a loop. He makes money but loses it in sudden, inexplicable downturns. He dates but the relationships end in the same pattern of disconnection. He travels but he cannot escape the feeling of restlessness. He thinks he is unlucky. But physics tells us there is no such thing as luck. There is only signal and reflection. Chapter 2, The Electronic Reality of Emotions. Let us strip away the psychological labels and look at the raw data. When James says, "I am worried," he thinks of it as a thought. But physically, his brain is not creating a vague sensation. It is emitting a very specific electromagnetic frequency. A measurable waveform radiates outward from his body as a true physical signal. Science has advanced to the point where we can no longer deny this. Studies using neuromagnetic field measurement technology, specifically magnetoencephalography, MEG, and squid magnetometers, have accurately documented this. We can literally see the signature of James's soul on a monitor. Let us decode the frequencies of the modern human experience. 1. The frequency of anxiety 4 to 8 Hz. When James is in that state of low-level dread, worrying about the quarterly review, his system produces vibrations in the range of 4 to 8 Hz. These are theta waves, but in a state of distress, they are not the theta of deep meditation. They are distorted. These are slow, low-frequency waves, but with erratic and angry amplitudes. Imagine a radio signal that is dragging, heavy, and filled with static. This signal carries a specific information packet: danger is approaching, resources are scarce, prepare for battle. 2. The frequency of anger and agitation 13 to 30 Hz. When the market turns against him or a colleague undermines him, James flares up. He produces oscillations in the range of 13 to 30 Hz. These are high beta waves. Fast, intense, chaotic, large amplitude. This is a storm. It is a high voltage discharge of energy. It is designed for short bursts of physical survival, fighting a predator or running from a fire. But James sustains this frequency for 10, 12, 14 hours a day. He is bathing his reality in a signal of conflict. 3. The frequency of the void below 4 Hz, and then the crash. The burnout. The weekends where James stares at the ceiling, unable to summon the will to move. Depressive states produce oscillations below 4 Hz. These are delta waves, but not the restorative delta of sleep. They are very slow, almost compressed, and have little variation. This is the signal of shutdown. It is the system retracting its energy field, signaling to the universe, I am offline, do not send opportunities, do not send connection. 4. The frequency of coherence 8 to 12 Hz, but there are rare moments. Moments when James is in flow. Maybe he is running in Central Park. Maybe he is listening to a piece of classical music. Pleasure and presence produce vibrations in the range of 8 to 12 Hz. Alpha waves. Smooth. Even. Stable. Orderly. This is the Goldilocks zone. This is where the magic happens. But for James and for most of us, this state is an accident, not a habit. This is not a metaphor. I cannot stress this enough. This is not symbolic language. These are real electromagnetic waves emitted from your nervous system. And importantly, these frequencies do not just stop at the skin. The electromagnetic field generated by your brain and heart can extend several meters around your body. You are walking through the world inside a bubble of your own broadcast. When James enters a meeting room, his 4 to 8 Hz anxiety field enters the room before he speaks a word. People feel it. They react to it. They become defensive not because of what James said, but because of the signal he is imposing on the collective field. Chapter 3: The Quantum Tuner. So we have established that you are broadcasting. But who or what is listening? This brings us to the nature of reality itself. Quantum physics describes reality not as a fixed world, not as a solid stage where events play out linearly, but as a superposition field containing countless coexisting possibilities. Imagine a vast, infinite library. In this library, there is a script for every possible version of your day. Script A: James lands the deal, goes home early and feels fulfilled. Script B: James loses the deal, gets into a fight and drinks alone. Script C: James gets fired. Script D: James quits and becomes an artist. All these scripts exist simultaneously in the quantum field as potentials. They are all real in the sense that they are available energy patterns. But which script gets pulled off the shelf and acted out in the physical world? That depends on the regulating signal. Your emotional frequency acts as a regulating signal. It is the retrieval code. When you emit anxiety frequencies, you are tuning the probability field towards scenarios compatible with threat, loss, and danger. It is a matching game. The universe says, oh, you are broadcasting the signal of threat 4 to 8 Hz. You must want scenarios that match threat. Here is a traffic jam, here is a rude waiter, here is a market crash. It is not because the danger is already there, but because you are resonating with those possibilities. When you radiate joyful frequencies, you align with scenarios that are compatible with connection, opportunity, and expansion. This is the mechanism that explains why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, not just financially but emotionally. It is not attraction through thought. You can think, I want money all day long. But if your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of fear of poverty, anxiety, you will attract poverty. It is resonance. Your nervous system is a biological tuner, and the channel it is transmitting through is the channel of reality you are receiving through. Chapter 4: The Error OF Interference. Now we arrive at the crux of the problem. If this mechanism is so simple, broadcast good, receive good, why is life so hard? Why is James, who wants to be successful and happy, constantly stressed and anxious? The answer lies in how we have been taught to handle our broadcasts. Perhaps you have always been accustomed to a very natural way of dealing with emotions. When anxiety arises, you tell yourself, do not worry. When anger flares up, you try to stay calm, forcing yourself to be more composed. When sadness lingers, you try to analyze the situation or blame yourself for being so weak. We call this self-control. We call it professionalism. We call it stoicism. But in the realm of frequency, this is called interference. Let us slow down the camera and look at the physics of trying to calm down. James is sitting at his desk. The market dips. His body naturally produces a pulse of anxiety, 6 Hz. This is a biological reflex. But James hates this feeling. He judges it. He resists it. He thinks, I must not be anxious, I must be strong. So he generates a second frequency to suppress the first one. This is the frequency of resistance. Resistance is a high-tension signal. It is tightness. It is compression. It vibrates fast, usually around 15 to 20 Hz. Now look at the waveform inside James. You have the anxiety wave 6 Hz moving up. You have the resistance wave 15 Hz pushing down. What happens when two mismatched waves collide? They do not cancel each other out. They create destructive interference. It is not silence, it is noise. A distorted, unclear, and unstable signal. Imagine tuning a radio dial and getting stuck between two stations. You hear static. You hear crackling. You hear chaos. That is the signal James is sending to the quantum field. He is not sending fear. And he is not sending calm. He is sending static noise. And when the signal you are sending becomes noisy, your tuner can no longer pick up a clear channel. It jumps, it slides, it sways. The quantum field receives this garbled message and returns a garbled reality. The results. The reality you experience also becomes unpredictable, chaotic, and contradictory. This explains the one step forward, two steps back phenomenon. James works hard input, but his signal is noisy output. So his results are inconsistent. This is why so many people say that the more I try not to worry, the more things I encounter that I should worry about. It was not because they failed to suppress the signal. It was because they tried to suppress it. They created interference in the transmission. The anxiety frequencies are still there underneath the mask of calm, but they are now mixed with the opposition frequencies, preventing the system from locking onto a stable channel. As a result, scenarios with threatening energy appear intermittently, as if life is playing tricks on you. This mechanism applies to everything. When you suppress anger, it does not go away. It clashes with the falsely calm frequency you are trying to project. Those two frequencies do not get along. They create disturbance, and that disturbance often manifests as subtle irritability, sarcastic remarks, sudden outbursts, or physical symptoms. It is not because you are mean. It is because you are chemically and energetically conflicted. When you suppress your sadness and try to appear okay, the frequency of sadness is not allowed to complete its cycle. It coincides with the frequency of playing cheerful roles. The result is not genuine joy, but rather a state of emptiness, numbness, a feeling of alienation from oneself. You become a stranger to your own soul because you have clogged the broadcast channel with artificial signals. Chapter 5. The paradigm shift from feeling to data. We left James in a state of conflict. He is fighting his own biology, creating noise in the quantum field, and wondering why his reality feels like a chaotic loop. The problem is not with his emotions. The problem lies in how he interferes with frequencies without knowing what he is doing. Psychophysiological science has long recognized this. But the solution is not to try harder. The solution is to stop trying to fix what is not broken. While emotions do not need to be fixed, they need to be recognized for their proper role, not as feelings to be managed, but as signals carrying information. Information about which channel you are currently playing on. This is the shift that changes everything. When you stop viewing emotions as problems and start seeing them as data, the entire way you live will change. James needs to stop asking, "How do I stop worrying?" and start asking, "What is this frequency telling me?" That very question leads to a whole new level. A level where emotions no longer control you. And you no longer control your emotions, you simply listen to the signals. Let us decode the dashboard of the human machine. Chapter 6: Reading the Reality Channel. Whenever an emotion arises, most of us immediately ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? What caused it? Should we leave it here? Those questions sound reasonable to the logical mind, but they all stem from the same blind spot. You are trying to interpret emotions when what you need to do is read the signals. If emotion is essentially a frequency, then what it conveys is not a story, but information about the channel of reality you are broadcasting. Let us look at the specific indicators on James's dashboard. 1. The anxiety indicator, the threat channel. When anxiety frequencies appear in the range of 4 to 8 Hz, James usually panics. He thinks something terrible is about to happen. But in the new paradigm, this signal does not necessarily mean danger is out there. It is saying you are broadcasting on a threatening channel. This is a critical distinction. James does not need to worry because the danger has already occurred. He is worried because the signal he is sending is resonating with possibilities that carry a sense of unease, insecurity, and loss. Anxiety is not a prophecy, it is a channel indicator. It tells him that the probability field around him is adjusting to scenarios that align with that frequency. Instead of trying to push it away or letting it drag him along in all sorts of thoughts, he starts to see it like a clock face. My system is playing here. At that moment, he gains something very important. The possibility of intervention before the scenario fully materializes. 2. The joy indicator, the opportunity channel. Now let us look at a different frequency. Joy. When this frequency appears in the range of 8 to 12 Hz, it is not just pleasant to listen to, it signals that you are playing on the opportune channel. A channel where the possibilities associated with convenient, extensive connectivity are amplified more clearly. Joy is not a reward for good behavior. It is a very accurate response to reality telling you that what you are emitting right now is aligning with favorable scenarios. 3. The anger indicator, the boundary channel. Similarly, anger is often misunderstood. We are taught that anger is bad. But when anger frequencies appear in the range of 13 to 30 Hz, it does not automatically mean you have a problem. It indicates you are broadcasting on a channel that violates your boundaries. It signals a place where your energy is being blocked, suppressed, or exceeded. Anger is not a bug that needs fixing, it is data. The data indicates that there is a point in life that needs to be redirected, redefined, or the energy flow shifted. 4. The void indicator, the minimization channel. And then there is one frequency that usually frightens people the most, the state of nothingness. The numbness. The depression. When the oscillation frequency drops below 4 Hz, your field hardly amplifies at all. Very few options are selected, very little movement occurs. It is not because life is at a standstill, but because the signals being emitted are below the threshold necessary for reality to function dynamically. This status is not a penalty. It is feedback indicating that the system is in expression minimization mode. When you read the frequencies in this way, something important happens. You stop trying to control your emotions. Instead of asking how I can stop feeling this way, you are asking, what is this channel saying about my streaming status? At this point, emotions are neither the enemy nor something to be indulged. They become a live report of how you are interacting with the field of ability. Each frequency that appears gives you a small window to see which version of reality is being amplified. Chapter 7: The Natural Cycle, the 90-second rule. But reading the data is only the first step. Once James realizes he is broadcasting on the threat channel anxiety, how does he switch it off? He cannot just decide to be happy. That would be suppressing the signal again, creating noise. He must allow the signal to clear itself. And it is by reading that information that you can consciously take the next step. Not by coercion, not by denial, but by allowing frequency to fulfill its role. And that is where a very subtle mechanism begins to emerge. It is a natural cycle that, if you do not intervene, will shift on its own. There is a very paradoxical truth about emotions that most of us have never been taught. It is not because it is too complicated, but because it is too simple. Each emotional frequency that arises in the nervous system carries its own cycle. It is born, it spreads, and then it transforms itself into a different state. The 90-second rule, neuroscience has observed this at the biochemical level. When an emotion arises, the brain and body create a chain of chemical reactions to maintain the corresponding frequency. This sequence peaks within the first few dozen seconds. Then, if left undisturbed, it will completely dissolve in about 90 seconds. Read that again. It is not 90 seconds to get over the sadness. Not 90 seconds to get okay again. But 90 seconds for the frequency to complete a clean broadcast cycle. This is the biological lifespan of a feeling. Why then does James feel anxious for days, weeks, or even years? Because he intervenes. When anxiety arises, James immediately tenses up. When frustration builds up, he starts talking to himself in his head. When sadness strikes, he gives it a long story. Why is this happening to me? This always happens. I am going to fail. Each of those thoughts acts as a trigger to re-release the chemicals. Each of those actions was not observation, but intervention. And that intervention does not make the frequency disappear, it only distorts the cycle. When you go against the frequency, you create another oscillation. Oscillations of compression. When you analyze, deduce, and repeat the story, you inject more energy to extend the playback time. So instead of a short cycle, you have a dragging signal. It is not because of strong emotions, but because they are being held back. The originally orderly cycle is torn into many colliding fragments, creating a state of discontinuity. This is why some emotions can last for hours, days, or even months. It is not because they are too deep, but because they have never been fully explored. Chapter 8: The Art of Non Interference. So, what is the protocol for James? What does he actually do when the panic hits? He does nothing. Let us look back at the anxiety. If he lets it appear without chasing it away, without creating scenarios, without asking questions, just acknowledging the fluctuation that is present, something very different happens. The frequency fluctuates upwards, reaches a peak, and then falls back down. In the process, it has done its job, telling you which channel is playing, revealing the patterns of attention that are shaping the probability growth. When the cycle ends, what remains is not anxiety but clarity. Clarity is the absence of static. It is being clear about where the energy is being drawn, being clear about the point in perception where the threat is resonating. And that very clarity opens up a choice. Similarly to anger, when not suppressed, it surges violently, revealing the violated boundaries and transforming itself into a different form of energy. No more conflict, no more explosions, only direction. As for the sadness, avoiding labeling it as weakness is a very concrete thing. It is completing a process of leaving and ending an old connection and expectation that is no longer relevant. When that cycle is complete, it is not empty but open space. A neutral area where other channels begin to become available. This concept of open space is crucial. Most people are terrified of the void. They fill every second with noise, with phone scrolling, with work. But it is only in the open space left after a frequency has cleared that a new reality can enter. The important thing here is that allowing something does not mean giving up. Permission means not interfering with, pushing, pulling, or distorting the signal, simply allowing the frequency to travel along its intended path. When you do not interfere, the system adjusts itself. When you stop working overtime, the cycle closes on its own. And in that very non-interference, something very subtle emerges. The ability to change channels without forcing it. But this brings us to a deeper question. We have talked about clearing the negative. But how do we amplify the positive? Why do some people seem to have a Midas touch, where reality bends to their will effortlessly while others struggle for years? To understand why some people can experience life-changing effects from just a low frequency, while others experience nothing for years, we need to go a step further. We need to understand the physics of purity. One factor determines the strength of a transmitted signal. We will talk about this in the next section. Frequency purity and why consistency in oscillations makes reality respond more strongly. Chapter 9: The Physics of Purity, Why Trying Fails. There is a question many people have asked themselves but rarely find a clear answer to. Why is it that sometimes, with just a very calm state of mind, almost a casual thought, everything around us seems to fall into place? And yet there are other times when, despite very strong, clear, and intense emotions, despite visualization boards and affirmations, life remains unresponsive. James used to believe that the intensity of his desire determined his success. He thought if he wanted the promotion badly enough, if he hungered for it, the universe would yield. But physics does not care about your hunger. Physics cares about your signal quality. The answer does not lie in the magnitude of the emotion, it lies in the purity of the signal. In frequency mechanisms, there is a factor that determines the degree of influence of the emitted signal on the real-world field. That factor is called the degree of coherence. A highly coherent frequency is a clear, stable oscillation that is not mixed by opposing signals. Conversely, a frequency lacking coherence is a mixed signal, transmitting one thing while interfering with another. Think of it like a laser versus a light bulb. A 100-watt light bulb scatters energy everywhere. It lights up a room but has no power to penetrate. A 100-watt laser, however, aligns every photon in perfect synchronization, coherence. It can cut through steel. And reality resonates strongly only with clear signals. When a frequency is emitted uniformly without obstruction or deflection, it creates a very strong resonance with corresponding probabilistic possibilities. As a result, scenarios with similar themes are chosen more quickly, consistently, and with less randomness. The trap of the mixed signal. Most people, including James, rarely emit a pure frequency. We often send multiple signals at the same time. James might be desiring success, but at the same time harboring deep doubts about his worthiness. He may have hope, but at the same time there is fear of failure. He might want to move forward, but deep down he is afraid of losing the safety of his current position. Each of those frequencies is not wrong in itself. But when they are layered on top of each other, they do not support each other, they interfere. This is the energetic definition of self-sabotage. The signal emitted at this moment is not clear enough for the reality field to lock onto a specific channel. Therefore, the feedback becomes weak, fragmented, and inconsistent. This is a point that is very easily misunderstood. Purity does not come from forcing yourself to only be happy or forcing yourself to be in a positive state. In fact, trying to maintain a good frequency while competing with a bad frequency is the quickest way to create interference. The power of honest sadness. Here is the radical truth. A pure signal of sadness is more powerful than a mixed signal of fake happiness. When a frequency appears, even if it is grief, even if it is anger, if you allow it to cycle through without compression, stretching, or adding any embellishments, then in that very moment, the signal is pure. Once selected, the frequency completes its role and leaves on its own. At that point, your field returns to a clean state, ready for the next frequency to appear without interference. This is what researchers call effective adaptability. It is the ability to traverse multiple states without getting stuck in any one. When a system has this flexibility, the reality field also becomes flexible. The channels can open and close smoothly. This is how James moves from being a grinder to being a flower. No need to force it, no need to pressure it, no need to convince yourself, just give a clear enough signal and reality will respond. Chapter 10: The Collective Field, Leadership Through Resonance. But there is one more factor that we have not addressed yet. James does not live on a desert island. He works on Wall Street. He rides the subway. He has a family. He does not broadcast in a vacuum. His signals are constantly interfering with the signals of others, of the space he enters, and of the environment he lives in. Every emotional frequency you emit enters a space already filled with countless other signals. Family, the workplace, a crowded room, even a short conversation, they all share a common frequency field, and that field determines what we commonly call the reality that everyone perceives. The phenomenon of synchronization. This reality was not created by an individual. It is formed by the layering of multiple signals transmitted simultaneously. When James walks into a boardroom where most people are radiating tension, anxiety, or vigilance, he can usually sense it immediately without anyone saying anything. The air is heavy, the body automatically retracts, and breathing changes. This is not his imagination. His nervous system is picking up on the general frequency and beginning to adjust accordingly. This phenomenon has been well documented in the science of oscillations and is known as synchronization or entrainment. When oscillating systems are close together, they tend to bring their rhythms to the same range. In other words, your emotional frequency tends to mimic the dominant frequency of the environment you enter. This is why emotions spread quickly within a group. It is not just because you empathize, but because the signal you are sending is truly in sync with the surrounding signals. The anchor point, but here, a very important question arises. When James enters that toxic meeting room, who will adjust to whom? Will James become anxious like the group? Or will the group become calm like James? The answer does not lie in quantity. It lies in the purity of the signal. If the frequency James transmits is weak, disjointed, and susceptible to interference, meaning he is pretending to be calm but is secretly scared, it will quickly be swept away by the general field. But if he is sending a clear, stable signal, unhindered by internal conflict, the opposite can happen. His signal starts to have an impact on the collective field. Not through words, not through deliberate actions, but through mere presence. When a highly coherent frequency enters a noise field, two possibilities occur. Either the signal is obscured and dissolved, or it creates a new anchor point that causes the entire field to shift very slightly. Which outcome will occur depends on the clarity and stability of the signal you transmit. This is the mechanism behind the phenomena that humans often describe intuitively. The moment this person walks in, the atmosphere calms down. There is nothing mysterious here. That is frequency mechanics. A stable signal is interfering with the common field. And when that interference becomes strong enough, the channel of capability that the entire group accesses also changes accordingly. Your emotional frequency not only affects your personal experience, it contributes to the collective field in which others are also living. Each person maintaining a clean signal is a point of stability for the shared space. Chapter 11: The Frequency Regulation Protocol, Practice. By now you have seen the theory. You understand the why. Emotions are signals. Resistance creates noise. Purity creates power. But understanding the mechanism alone is not enough. Without a specific solution, everything will revert to old habits. James needs a manual. You need a manual. This section is not about concepts, it is about operation. A simple protocol based directly on frequency mechanics, not relying on self-persuasion and requiring no psychological analysis. Here is the 5-step frequency regulation protocol. Step 1. Identify the movement throughout the day. Pay attention to the moments when your inner state changes. No need to know why, no need to trace back the cause. Just notice that the rhythm of the oscillation has changed. Anxiety, a feeling of rapid, shallow vibrations like something is pushing from inside. Joy spreads gently and evenly without haste. Anger, powerful, concentrated impulses that make it difficult to remain still. Depression, a feeling of heaviness and slowness where all movement is pulled down. The key is to realize it before the story even begins. Step 2. Broadcast without interference. Once the frequency has been identified, the next step is to do nothing more. No suppression. No nurturing. No scripting. Just allow the oscillations to pass through the system without distortion. This requires softening, not controlling. Your breathing does not need to change, your posture does not need to adjust, just do not interrupt. You can silently note that this is a signal being broadcast, and then let it run on its own. Remember the 90-second rule. When not being further nurtured, the cycle completes very quickly. No effort, no trying, everything will be fine. Step 3. Gather channel information. Once the frequency has passed its peak and begins to shift, you should then ask yourself, it is not about why I am like this, but rather, what channel is this signal telling me I am playing on? Anxiety signals the threat channel. Joy signals the opportunity channel. Anger signals the boundary channel. Low state signals the minimization channel. This is not reasoning, this is reading data. Like looking at a speedometer, no judgment is needed, just see clearly. Step 4. Conscious choice. Once you know where you are playing, a choice arises, not the control of your emotions but the choice to continue or change channels. If James realizes he is broadcasting on a threatening channel, he might wonder, do I want to maintain this signal? If the answer is no, then switching channels does not happen with positive thinking. This happens by shifting the focus of attention, changing body position, or moving away from the environment that was amplifying the old vibrations. This is not coercion, this is frequency selection based on feedback. Step 5. Cultivate purity. When you repeat this process long enough, one thing becomes very clear. You are no longer sending out multiple overlapping signals. Each incoming frequency shift becomes more distinct. The system becomes compact, the transmission field is less noisy, and this compactness greatly enhances its resonance with reality. The most suitable scenarios appear more consistently, more quickly, and with less randomness. It is not because you are better, but because the signal you are sending is easier to read for the field of ability. This protocol is not intended to create a fixed state. It creates the ability to move flexibly between different channels without getting stuck. And once that capability is established, you are ready to move to a deeper level. A layer where frequencies are not just isolated but can be combined, amplified, and redirected. Chapter 12: Advanced Frequency Alchemy. Up until now, we have been talking about each frequency occurrence being identified, completed, and then transmitted. We have discussed how to flush the negative signals. But James is a high performer. He does not just want to survive his emotions, he wants to use them. The system you are operating does not just emit one oscillation at a time. It is capable of emitting multiple oscillations simultaneously. And when that happens, reality does not just capture the channel, it captures a complex signature. This is where frequency mechanics enters a new phase: alchemy. Alchemy is not magic. It is the art of redirecting energy. One frequency classification and layering. In real life, James is rarely in just one pure state. He can be both gentle and focused, steady and curious, decisive and clear-headed. In the field of frequency terminology, this is not a contradiction. This is a classification of oscillations. When two or more frequencies with compatible structures are transmitted simultaneously, they do not cancel each other out, they complement each other. For example, an expansive oscillation, openness/curiosity, combined with a directional oscillation, focus/determination, creates a signature that is very different from each part individually. The reality field responds to the signal as a whole, opening up channels of possibility with more complex structures. It brings scenarios that demand creativity and perseverance, flexibility and order. 2. Redirecting the heavy energies. But what about the heavy stuff? The anger. The anxiety. James learns that there are frequencies that do not appear fleetingly. They repeat, they come back, they take up a lot of space. Persistent anxiety, lingering dissatisfaction, unceasing lethargy. In these cases, suppression is ineffective because the frequency energy does not disappear when it is suppressed. It simply shifts location, usually into the body or into indirect manifestations. Advanced frequency mechanics does not seek to eliminate energy, it redirects oscillations. Let us look at anger. The energy of anger is intense. It is high voltage, 30 Hz. If left unchecked, it can easily lead to conflict, destruction, and burnt bridges. But if the oscillating structure is shifted, that energy can become steadfastness. It can become the ability to act, or the impetus needed for change. James realizes he can use the raw fuel of anger to power a deep work session. He can use it to set a firm boundary that he was previously too scared to set. He does not vent the anger, he channels it into drive. No more conflict, no more explosions, only direction. Let us look at anxiety. Anxiety energy is active in nature. It is a scanning mechanism. If not read correctly, it becomes confusing. If redirected, it could become alertness, attention to detail, or precise preparation. James turns his worry about the market into strategic risk assessment. He stops vibrating with fear and starts vibrating with readiness. The key point is that you do not fight the energy, you work with its oscillating form, neither extinguishing it nor indulging it, just changing the rhythm. Once you understand this, you will no longer be afraid of unpleasant frequencies. You know that every movement carries a neutral amount of energy. The way it manifests depends on the form you allow it to take. Chapter 13: Living as a Frequency Conscious Being. When James masters these mechanisms operating simultaneously, layered correctly, amplified appropriately, and redirected flexibly, he begins to live in a relationship that is very different from the emotional one he knew before. It is no longer about enduring, no longer about avoiding, no longer about chasing, but about subtle adjustment. James has become a frequency-conscious being. When you truly see emotions not as feelings to be managed, but as signals being sent, your entire relationship with the experience begins to change. It is not about changing your mindset, but about changing how you are present in each moment. Here is what James's life looks like now. 1. The end of identity. He stops labeling emotions. No longer good or bad, no longer right or wrong. More importantly, he stops identifying himself with transient states. He no longer says, "I am a worrier," or "I am easily upset," or "I have a short temper." Those sentences had previously inadvertently transformed transient frequencies into fixed identities. He is not the signal. He is the broadcaster. When you become aware of frequency, you clearly see that the oscillations come and go, they change. They do not stay together. What remains constant is the awareness that is observing the entire process. 2. The end of stagnation. Because there are no longer labels, flexibility emerges. You do not get stuck in a channel longer than necessary. When the signal has completed its role, the system switches automatically, requiring no effort or manual pulling. This shift makes the field of probability around you more flexible as well. Different scenarios can emerge without waiting for a major event. 3. The resonance of reality. Perhaps the most noticeable change is the way James sees things and what is happening outside. When the frequencies you transmit maintain their purity, you begin to see corresponding scenarios repeat with greater accuracy. It is not a coincidence, not a matter of luck, but a consistent resonance. These encounters, these opportunities, these situations, they seem to come at just the right time. But in reality, they are entering the channel that you have already opened. James realizes he has been doing this his whole life. It is not just starting now. It is just that he was not aware of it before. Each state he has been in has shaped the experience he has had. The only difference now is that he can see the mechanism. Once you have seen it, you cannot possibly not have seen it. You no longer live in a state of blind reflexes. You become a conscious participant in the process of adjusting to reality. The purpose is not to control or manipulate, but to cooperate with the existing mechanism. Chapter 14, The Final Truth. It was always you. And when you are in that position, one final question naturally arises. It is not a question of how, but a question of the responsibility to recognize. If reality is always adjusting to the signal you are sending, then the most important thing is not changing the world, but what you are sending right now. There is something important that needs to be said, not to convince you nor to make you believe, but simply so you realize it. This mechanism never started working from the moment you started watching this video. It has been operating in every moment of your life for a very long time. Every emotion you have ever experienced, every state you have been in, has sent out a specific signal. And the reality you live in at each stage has silently adjusted to match that signal. It is not because you want it, not because you beg for it, not because you are proactive enough, but because the signal being transmitted is always met by the field of possibility. The only difference is consciousness. The only difference between then and now lies not in the mechanism, but in the consciousness. Previously, James broadcasted unconsciously. He reacted, he resisted, he tried to fix it, and reality responded in an erratic, unpredictable way. Sometimes it made him think that life is full of randomness. Now he sees how it works not through belief but through the logic of oscillation. He knows that emotions do not control him. They are indicators. He knows that he does not need to manage his emotions. He needs to recognize the signals. He knows that not every state needs to be held and no state needs to be moved. They just need to be selected. When you do not interfere in the wrong places, the system will adjust itself. When the signal is clear enough, reality automatically picks up the channel. There is no dominance here. There is no special power, only conscious participation and a mechanism that has always existed. You do not control the world. You adjust how you broadcast and the world adjusts accordingly. It is not because you are giving orders, but because that is how resonance works. Let us return to James one last time. It is a year later. He is still in New York. The market is still volatile. The city is still loud. But James is quiet. He sits on a park bench. He feels a ripple of anxiety about a pending deal. He does not fight it. He does not pull out his phone. He sits. He waits. 30 seconds. 60 seconds. 90 seconds. He lets the signal clear. And then, in the silence that follows, he chooses his next broadcast. He chooses trust. He stands up, adjusts his coat, and walks back into the chaos, carrying a field of peace that no one can explain, but everyone can feel. Your turn. From this moment on, whenever an emotion arises, you may choose to do nothing at all. No judgment, no labeling, no rush to change, just recognizing that this is the signal I am sending. And that alone is enough to start reality shifting. And before this video ends, you do not need to change anything in your life, just choose a frequency that you will observe and play next. It is not about demanding results, but about letting your nervous system know where it is heading. If it is peace, write peace. If it is sufficiency, write it fully. If it is about health, write about health. Because when you select a frequency to observe, the system will automatically adjust what is no longer needed so that frequency is broadcast more clearly. This mechanism does not ask if you believe it or not. It does not need consent. It does not need belief. It simply responds to the signal being emitted. The only question remaining is not whether this is true, but whether you are consciously aware of it or still broadcasting it unconsciously. Because no matter what you choose, reality will continue to adjust to that signal. The adjustment knob has never been located on the outside. It is always here, in every moment you are living. And the choice of broadcast is yours. Chapter 15, The Compound Effect of Clarity, Financial Reality. Let us fast forward. Meet James, 12 months after he stopped fighting his own biology. He still works in finance. He still lives in New York. But if you look at his results, they defy the conventional logic of hard work. His portfolio is up 40%. He has closed the biggest deals of his career. But here is the anomaly: he is working 3 hours less per day. How is this physically possible? This is the first major application of frequency mechanics in business, the end of friction. Previously, James spent 70% of his energy fighting the static noise of anxiety and resistance. He was like a car driving with the handbrake on. He had to push the engine to the red line just to move forward. Now he has mastered the clean signal. When he sits down to analyze a deal, he is in a state of coherence, alpha waves, 8 to 12 hertz. There is no internal noise. Because his mind is quiet, his intuition, which is simply high-speed data processing, becomes audible. He sees patterns in the market that his stressed-out colleagues miss. He makes fewer decisions, but they are better decisions. The lesson: success is not a function of effort, it is a function of clarity. One decision made in a state of high coherence is worth 100 decisions made in a state of panic. James stopped hustling for money and started aligning for it. And the money followed the path of least resistance. Chapter 16, The End of the Hustle, Career Advancement. We live in a culture that worships the grind. We are told, no pain, no gain. James used to wear his exhaustion like a badge of honor. But physics teaches us a different lesson. Resistance creates heat, resonance creates flow. When James shifted his frequency from fear of failure, anxiety, to trust in process, stability, the texture of his workday changed. He noticed that the impossible clients suddenly became cooperative. The legal hurdles that usually took weeks were resolved in days. Why? Because he was no longer broadcasting a signal of conflict. When you broadcast a signal of ease, the universe reflects ease back to you. This is not magic, it is resonance. If you walk into a negotiation vibrating with the frequency of desperation, I need this deal, the other party unconsciously recoils. They sense the lack. But when James walks in with the frequency of sufficiency, I am fine with or without this deal, he becomes magnetic. People want to do business with him because he feels safe and solid. The application: to advance your career, stop focusing on the outcome, the promotion, the raise, and start focusing on the signal you bring to the work. Do not work for the result, work from the frequency of the result. Act as if you are already the CEO. Not by being arrogant, but by holding the frequency of stability and vision that a CEO holds. Reality will eventually organize itself around that signal. Chapter 17, Magnetic Relationships, the Social Field. The most profound change for James was not in his bank account. It was in his phone contacts. As his signal became coherent, a strange phenomenon occurred: the toxic exodus. The colleagues who loved to gossip and complain. They stopped stopping by his desk. They did not feel comfortable around him anymore. His frequency was no longer a match for their drama. The friends who only called to borrow money or dump their problems. They drifted away. This is the law of frequency compatibility. You cannot keep a toxic person in your life if you are broadcasting a pure signal of self-respect. They will either change to match you or they will leave. In their place, James attracted a new tribe. He met a partner who resonated with his calm. He found mentors who operated at his new level of clarity. The application: if you want to improve your relationships, do not try to change the other people. Audit your broadcast. If you are attracting disrespectful people, check your frequency. Are you broadcasting a signal of I tolerate disrespect? Change the signal to self-worth, not arrogance but quiet dignity, and watch the cast of characters in your life change automatically. Chapter 18, The Blueprint, Your Daily Action Plan. So how do you, the viewer, build this life? You do not need to be a monk, and you do not need to quit your job. Here is the 4-step blueprint to apply this to your daily life for tangible success. 1. Stop the leak: energy conservation. Every time you spiral into 2 hours of anxiety, you are leaking the fuel you need to build your empire. Apply the 90-second rule religiously. Save that energy. You will need it to create. 2. The morning tuning: set the channel. Before you check your email, before you look at Instagram, set your frequency. Spend 3 minutes simply establishing the signal you want to play today. Is it focus? Is it creativity? Is it resilience? Do not let the world choose the channel for you. 3. The doorframe trigger. Every time you walk through a door, into a meeting, into your home, into the gym, use the doorframe as a trigger to check your signal. Ask, what energy am I bringing into this room? If it is static, clear it before you enter. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Set the temperature, do not just react to it. 4. Trust the lag time. In the physical world there is a delay. You might change your signal today, but your reality might take a week or a month to catch up. This is the buffer of time. Do not get discouraged. Do not say it is not working. James did not get rich overnight. He held the signal steady until the physical world rearranged itself to match him. Trust the physics. The reflection must change if the object changes. The invisible signal is no longer a secret. It is a tool. And now it is in your hands. Stop fighting the mirror. Change the source. And watch your reality repeat. But this time, watch it repeat the life you actually want.